Welcome back to Wordfully Yours. This is the Plot Hold. My name is Jeff. I write as J.S. Johnston.
I am Naomi Macmillan. I am a poet and medium writer and work in progress author.
And we're starting a new podcast bringing you publishing news, current events, writing, talk, just kind of whatever. Naomi, why don't you go ahead and get started?
Sure. This is from a Vanity Fair article. Very recently, like maybe within the last week or two, Dame Judi Dench has come out with some comments about her thoughts on using trigger warnings in the theater. And I thought, I know it's not, well, I mean, the plays are writing and trigger warnings are also used in books as well. So I thought this was a good article to look at. I absolutely disagree with everything she said. And I feel like personally, when I hear people being very anti-trigger warning, I kind of feel like maybe they don't understand what a trigger warning actually is. And, I think people confuse trigger warnings with spoilers. And I don't think that's true. I don't think trigger warnings are spoilers. I think they're just kind of little heads up. You might not want to, if this bothers you, you might not want to go any further. And I don't see anything wrong with that. And I did point out like a lot of quotes and things from the article that stood out to me. But you can chime in too if you want.
No, I didn't get to read the entire article. I breezed through the first part of it. I saw something about where she thought that there should be a trigger warning on Macbeth or something, and people. She said something. If people were that sensitive, then just don't go to the theater or something.
Yeah, and I think that's a really shitty take.
Yeah, I thought that was a very insensitive thing to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I do have a couple quotes here. Basically, she said people need to get a thicker skin or stay home, which okay.
Yeah.
um, some of the things that stood out to me by a couple of these actors, because Matt Smith and Ralph Fiennes have also made commentary about that as well. And they're all kind of this attitude like, well, what's the point of going to the theater if you're not going to be shocked and like, exhilarated? And isn't that art supposed to be dangerous and blah, blah, blah. And maybe art is dangerous to you, but everyone's got their own take on what art should be and how they experience it. And, what you find exhilarating and awesome, I might find really fucking horrific and not want to look at it.
Yeah, see,
So,
that's the thing. I mean, I've always complained that movies have a rating system. In order to
Mhm.
get something rated PG-13, you drop the F-bomb once. You can show female nipples like within 3 seconds. You can like maybe have a hint of blood, and that gets something rated as a PG-13. Like there are criteria. So you rate something as
Right.
PG-13, you know what you're getting into.
Right,
And
exactly.
and then when you go to rent it on you go to stream it, it'll say rated PG-13 because of these things. You can look at that, and you can decide to yourself, all right, well, I'm not really into the F bomb. I'll watch something else. You get that choice.
Right. Right. And I
Um,
think, that gives you agency and kind of consent to what you're going to expose yourself to. I personally, I've got some of my own triggers and things like that, and I have found trigger warnings to be very helpful. And if anything, it helped me enjoy the book more. It didn't deter me. It didn't stop me from reading the book. There's actually a book coming to mind in particular that I finished fairly recently, like within the last year or so, and it's called Ashes by Iona Wayland,
mhm.
and it's an allegory on overcoming and healing from your trauma. And the it does have a trigger warning, and it's got the very specifics of what that deals with.
Mhm.
And that was helpful for me. It didn't make me go, oh, I can't read this, I'm not going to put this down. It was almost like a heads up that I'm probably going to have to pace myself if I'm going to read this book. Because and a lot of times people like if I pick up a good book, there are times I'll read it in like 2 days. I can
Mhm.
get a really good book done within 48 hours. you know a book with that kind of content might not be something I want to devour that fast. you know so I have found it very helpful for myself. I feel like you hear a lot of people kind of comparing reading and storytelling to a journey. And I kind of feel like if you're going on a journey, you prepare a little bit. You know, you don't have to know the whole thing, but you do have a roadmap, and you do have hopefully a guide or some familiarity with the territory.
You pack your
I
bags,
feel like
you
that's
put in your
essentially
snacks,
what
you put in-
triggers.
yeah.
Right,
I
right,
mean,
exactly.
you want to
I
know
feel
what
like
you're getting
that's
into.
kind of what trigger warnings do.
You want to.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to know if you're in a car ride, you want to know if it's 10 minutes or 16 hours.
Right.
You want to know what you're in for.
You want to know where
all.
the bumps are and where the rest stops are and shit like that. So that's how I look at trigger warnings. I feel like there's no need to be so viciously opposed to them. It's kind of like, if you don't need the trigger warning, maybe don't listen to it, or skip the page and don't read it.
Yeah, see, this is, I thought this was a good article for you to pick, because this is apparently a point of contention among other writers as well as readers. Because talking in the writing community out on Twitter, people have opinions about trigger warnings.
Everything.
And
but yeah,
especially things like trigger warnings. Like I've talked to other authors who are absolutely, adamantly, fervently against trigger warnings. They even bring up things like, well, I didn't have any trigger warnings when I was a kid, and look how I turned out. And I just want to respond, yeah, look how you turned out.
And I love how it's always, well, we never did it then, so we shouldn't do it now. And if that was the mentality we took on anything, not like I wouldn't have a right to vote, you know, like, yeah, exactly. It's okay to do things that might be helpful for other people. Just because you didn't have it before doesn't mean it's a no always. I think it's so stupid.
Just because that's the way it used to be done doesn't mean that's the way it should be done. I mean,
it's okay to evolve.
They used to do all kinds of stuff back in the olden days that seem absolutely ridiculous to us now, because they are.
Because we know more and we know better, and we've learned from our mistakes.
Right. So, but I've talked to other authors. They say things like they feel that it sort of handicaps them to put out a trigger warning. Like, just like you were saying with giving them a shock. How am I supposed to give them a shock if they know it's in there?
Because you're not giving the full graphic details. You're just saying, hey, this book covers sexual assault, or this book covers drug use or domestic violence. Like, you're not saying the page and the sentence and exactly how it happened.
Which that's my take. It's like when you go to a horror movie, you want to know it's a horror movie because of what's in it. And also, when you go to a horror movie, you know there's going to be jump scares. You don't know how it's going to happen. You know they're in there because it's a horror movie, so you know what you're getting into.
Right. I genuinely do not see the downside to that. And I kind of feel like you're a writer, right? So shouldn't you be able to creatively figure that out and work around a trigger warning?
Yeah, like part of being a writer is being able to be creative. So create, right?
Yeah.
Figure it out, like you said.
What a concept.
So my girlfriend also writes, and she put some trigger warnings in her book, and she got some opinions about it, about whether or not they should be in there. And she has them in there just so people know what they're getting into when they start reading, because it deals with a lot of racism and racial violence and viewpoints and stuff. So, I mean, when I start reading, I want to know that's in there, because I mean, if I don't want to be loaded down with all that heavy burden and have to, rationalize all that stuff in my head, if I'm just looking for some light reading.
Right.
I want to be able to look for that and not just be slapped with all that stuff
there's, I mean, I definitely, when I go into reading, I do have different intentions. You know, sometimes it's for personal development. Sometimes it's because I want to hit the heavy stuff. And other times it's because I just want to break from everything that's getting me down. And again, trigger warnings are helpful with that as well. You know, it's almost like maybe this book is fine to read, but at another time. Like, I'm just not in the right headspace for that kind of content right now.
Right.
And I really.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
sometimes I want to read the great literature of history. Sometimes I just want to read Golden Age sci-fi.
Right. Just stupid shit.
Just stupid
Just
shit. So
mindless stuff that you can escape a little bit.
right. So, in my opinion, trigger warnings are good to have.
Yeah,
You should know what's in there.
I agree.
People who say, well, if you're just that sensitive, then don't go to the theater or watch a movie or read a book. To me, that's a very insensitive thing to say.
Absolutely.
That sounds like somebody who's never had to deal with it. Because if they had, I hope they would have a different opinion.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that perspective also kind of is lacking in empathy. Like I don't need to experience trauma to understand that someone else might have different reactions to stuff like that, and
Right.
not everyone copes with things the same way, and people process things differently and move through things at different paces. And that's other commentary I've been hearing where they're like, well, the best way to get over your trauma is to confront it. Well, not always. For some people, depending on how fresh the wound is, that can be very debilitating and
Yeah.
almost counteractive to what they're trying to achieve in terms of healing. Like only what you can handle and what your pace should be.
That's
And
a very good way to put it. That's like breaking your
yeah,
leg and then telling somebody, you know how to fix your leg? Walk on it.
walk. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, how is that helpful?
Okay. Right. So that's and then there was one more thing that was mentioned in there. I think it was Matt Smith had said that he's okay with trigger warnings if they're dealing with things that might cause physical problems like bright lights and flashing lights for seizures. And I think those are important too, but I also think that take is kind of ableist because now you're deciding that I can't see what your problem is, so you don't have a problem and you should get over it.
Exactly it. When someone's issue is not visible, that's where can lead the problems. The mental and emotional stuff is just as important as physical. I mean,
absolutely.
This has been very well understood for decades and decades and decades, and I'm very tired of people pretending it's not.
Yeah, same. It's bullshit.
I mean, anybody who watches
yeah.
Anybody who watches this channel knows that I'm autistic and I have needs, and I get so tired of people telling me when I don't have issues when I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, because my issues
I'm not
visible.
experiencing what I'm experiencing. Yeah.
Right. Because they're not having a problem with it. All of a sudden they decided I don't either.
No, you must not. Because you're functioning. So you don't have an issue. Your issue is you don't really have one.
Which is one of the things that I get. Oh, you're functioning. You seem to be doing okay. You're fine. You're just being a baby. Right?
Yeah. No.
Right. No. I mean,
there's
I have
more to it than that. Yeah.
I'm explaining I have issues. Please just acknowledge that there are issues.
Right.
If I don't want to...
Give me a little patience, a little, yeah.
Yeah, just a little patience, a little understanding when I need it. I mean, if I don't want to read a book with racial violence in it, then I would really rather somebody say it's in there so I can pick another book.
Right.
I mean, that's it.
Yeah, I don't think any of that's unreasonable. Yeah. So, sorry, Dame Judy. I love you, but not this take.
Which sucked, too, because, I mean, this is one of the reasons why I don't want to know who celebrities are, because I think she's an awesome actress, and I love watching her movies, and she's awesome, and then all of a sudden, there's an article where she puts out something like that. I'm like, oh, come on.
Yeah. Like, you didn't have to say it out loud.
I don't want a reason not to like. I mean, I just got done reading the... I shouldn't have read this. I just read this.
Oh,
it's
okay.
I mean, she was one of my childhood crushes growing up, but reading this is like she's a real person now, and I hate that because nobody's perfect.
Oh, no.
I would really rather she just be this ethereal person that I had a crush on when I was a kid. But it's a good book if you want to pick it up.
Say. Yeah, well, is it her autobiography or
it's her autobiography.
Okay.
I found it in a used bookstore. That's like the price, and it was in the sci-fi section. It's not sci-fi. I mean, there are no aliens in it.
Right, yeah.
But that's where I found it. But it is a good book.
Yeah.
I do like it. It actually starts off. She was when she was a kid back in the 1920s. She came from a mixed family, and her dad was the mayor of the town, and he had dealings with Al Capone's brother.
Oh,
Dun dun
wow.
dun.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm gonna say. So
Okay.
if
I
you,
might
if
pick it up just for that,
it
just to
is,
see what happened.
it is a good book. And
No spoilers.
and I think it's the first memoir I've ever read ever. So
Really?
yeah,
Oh,
and
cool.
because it's Uhura, that's why I picked
Yes.
it up. So I forgot why I got on that tangent, but there you are.
Talking about knowing celebrities and how it ruins our enjoyment of them.
Oh yeah.
Or knowing more about them, more knowing their human side and less than perfect side.
Oh yeah, because everybody's
How dare
perfect.
they?
Yeah,
Right.
everybody's human. Nobody's perfect. And
Right.
when you want your heroes, when you meet your heroes, you expect them to be perfect, and when they're not,
Right.
it's like the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
So
It's severely disappointing for sure. I have a hard time separating the art from the artist, depending on what the issue is.
mhm.
Um, yeah, and there's definitely been a lot of books and music that I just can't get into anymore because I know too much about the creator behind it. Like,
Yeah,
damn it. Which, I appreciate people who are able to compartmentalize stuff like that.
yeah. And that
It's
goes
not a skill I
that
have.
goes back to people like Orson Scott Card and J.K. Rowling and how they're terrible people, but they write great books.
Yeah. Orson Scott, he did Ender's Game, right?
Yeah, he did Ender's Game. I've never read it.
Yes, that was one of my favorite sci-fi books. I loved it so much. And then I again learned about his his leanings on things, and I was just like,
Yeah,
oh fuck. God damn it. This
yeah.
was a really good book.
He's done some
I
stuff
yeah.
and
Yeah.
and he leans certain ways, and I'm actually glad I never got into his books or J.K. Rowling's books growing up. I mean, I didn't
Mm,
like young adult back when I was a young adult. I didn't even like the other young
gotcha.
adults.
Hmm.
So that's fine with me. They can be as terrible as they want to be, but but I don't want to.
I yeah.
But it's just an example of I really don't want to know who these people are, because then I might not like
Yeah.
their stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Because
I think
Marina
that's okay.
Sirtis, what used to be one of my crushes back in her Star Trek days, then I used to follow her on Twitter, and she wasn't shy about publicizing her opinions on men. Um,
Oh, okay.
she's not a fan.
Okay.
Let's put it that way.
Got it.
So I decided to unfollow her, and
A little bit of a turn off, yeah.
a little bit of a turnoff. I was very sad that day.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a bummer.
So anyway, it's been 16 minutes. I wanted
Mm.
to keep these down to 15,
Can
20
move
minutes.
on.
So
Yeah.
which is fine. I wanted to cut it short here. Um,
Yeah, sure.
so we can do that, because looking at the statistics for the last few ones, I mean, they get a good number of views, but people don't watch past like 8 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I want to sign off here. Thank you for watching. This has been The Plot Hole. My name is Jeff. I write as J.S. Johnston. I hope you come back soon. And Naomi, if you want to say something.
I'm Naomi. You can follow me on Instagram. I am the Fluffy Owl, and you can also check out my articles on Medium. I think they're being linked in the description somewhere in there. Yeah, and appreciate your viewership. Take care.
Yep. Bye.